So guys, listen, if you guys are living underneath a rock here for the last 7 months, we've got a new menu coming out.
What? I am tension. I fully don't know what I'm saying. I'm joking. This menu is levels up. Levels up. Like literally, like levels up. I think there's 15 out of this world meals coming through.
Yeah.
What do you think, Anissa?
They are crazy good. Like really, really good. And MASOOD will know I don't hold back on my criticism when it comes to meal testing. But these have been through.
What were some of the names?
These
What was
have
it?
been through how many?
We got Mexican fajita chicken. We got chicken satay,
What?
peanut sauce.
Oh, that
We've
sauce.
got
I'm telling you, that's
chicken
how
shawarma. Chicken shawarma.
Listen, get me a bottle of that sauce so I can drink it.
Yeah, bro. That's how much.
The sauces.
Quench your hydration. Guys, we got a new menu coming out. It's by the time you watch this, it probably is out. But go on the website right now, www.khanaprep.co.uk. Always linked in the bio, and check it out. Yo, what are you saying, guys? Welcome back to the Khana podcast. My name is MASOOD, and I'm with.
I just told you not to do that.
I'm doing this. Welcome back to the Khana podcast. My name is MASOOD, and I'm with MOHSIN and Anissa today. How you guys doing?
Good, alhamdulillah, man.
Yeah.
Good, very well.
You dragged Anissa out of bed and that? Yeah.
I'm making my, star appearance.
Star appearance. Guest appearance.
5 episodes.
What's the views are going to be up on this one?
That's it, man. But yeah, man, how you guys been?
Very good.
How come you guys came late today? What? Are we not going to address that first and foremost? Why are you guys late? We were supposed to record at 12 years.
There was 2 meetings back to back. Both of them got overrun. So
how's they do?
Fashionably late.
Fashionably late. Where's the fashion? Where's the fashion in
I
that?
don't know, man. I mean, if Sufyan zoomed on you right now, I think that question.
I'm
question
on brand.
would be.
I'm on brand.
The question would be flipped on you.
I'm on brand, bro. You're like getting ready to go to Apprentice, bro.
I don't think they could handle me. Just putting that out there.
Have you seen the new episode?
Nah.
I haven't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we must be the only ones in the country that are not that excited to watch it.
Because every time somebody says to me, "Let's watch Apprentice," I'm like, "That's like work again."
That's like working.
But
It's like a job.
It's dead, man. I swear, I think the quality of the episodes have gone down for the last 5 years. 5 years ago, it peaked. It was the best. 5 years ago.
From what I understand, I think it initially started off as a dramatized. Obviously, it's a TV show, so it needs to be a little bit dramatized. But initially, I think before it was a lot about business acumen, learning different things. But I think now it's all about views, like bringing most controversial, or to make it the most, talked about show. Like even though I haven't watched it, The Apprentice, I've heard about it from everybody right now at this moment in time.
Initially, it was like he was given a 6-figure job at his company, and then I think.
Job or as a partner?
No, it was first like few seasons. It was a job at his company, and then I think 5 seasons in, 6 seasons in, that's when he said, "Okay, now I'm gonna be your business partner, 50-50," and that's when we like, "Oh, that's sick, bro."
I realised, didn't it? We'll benefit that way.
And then 5 years ago, that's when the show peaked. I don't know. I saw an episode today, and it's just, bro, it's bare cringy, man. It's like the same old jargon, bro. Oh, I don't want to be project manager. I don't want to be, you know what I mean? I don't want my neck on the line. It was your fault. You know what I don't understand, yeah? In business, it's about taking accountability, right? And these mans, all they do is not take accountability. That's what I don't understand. So, but yeah, man, listen, we're going to talk about business today, innit? You guys are on the hot spot. Not hot spot, but obviously we touched on it first episode. But we're gonna go deep dive again. I think it's worth the conversation. You guys' initial story of how you guys started. You guys were very apprehensive. I mean, you were very apprehensive on the phone yesterday. And like, oh my days, bro, not my story, bro. What are you gonna do about my story, bro?
The story.
I think we're just very private individuals, just generally. So now it's like, okay, now bear all about your story. Like, okay, which story? Like, we just talk about it amongst ourselves, but we've never spoken to like a third person about our story. Never mind all these people.
I think you're right. Then the story is all about. To other people, it's a story. To us, it's not a story. To us, is
very much reality of what we.
Reality is life. That's life, and you get on with life type of thing. So, other people might see it as a story to share with other people. To us, or not. Again, to be honest, I'm not even sure which part of the story you're talking about. I mean, everything's. You're always trying to improve yourself.
I mean, if there's anything you don't want to talk about, then we don't need to talk about it.
No
Like, no, you don't need to say no comment. It's not interview, bro. I mean, technically it is, but.
Like Musu's asked, So what about that? That body that you buried in your back garden? No comment.
No comment.
That's a joke, by the way. You want to preface that as a joke.
God,
You don't want to say that that's actually a joke, innit? You have to put it out there. But no, like obviously, like you guys go on about like you want to go into like business consulting, and I said to you very early on, like if people are not going to trust you for business consulting if they don't know who you are, and it's a good opportunity for people to understand a little bit more about who Mohsin and Nisa are and why they're good for business, why they're good at what they do. So that's the main reason why.
Well, I guess you can answer a lot of these questions because we work together.
Well, yeah,
Like,
I mean,
literally
obviously,
every day.
yeah.
The guy calls me at 12 o'clock at night. So what's the decision that we made then? Like, bro, it's 12 o'clock in the night.
Well, that's what you need to do, innit? This guy, he doesn't pick up his phone, bro. How? I'm your business partner, you don't pick up your phone. What?
No,
Oh, you know what they're talking about?
Let's address the elephant in the room here. Look, there was a time, or there has been still till today. I've taken calls, done work, crazy hours of the day, crazy hours of the night. But obviously that's fine, and it's run really. You have to do what you have to do. But I think at some point in life you have to be like, okay, look, I have a daughter, right? Her name's Hafsa, and even the early years when she was born, we lost a lot of time with her. Due to a number of reasons. I guess if they come up, they come up. If they don't come up, we lost some crucial time with her. As a result of that, the amount of calls and messages I have to respond on a daily basis, or even emails, if I was to do them, the day would just be completely occupied by then. Even now, when I choose to respond to certain messages and not respond, even then, my whole day is taken up.
Yeah.
So if I was to now get through to all of them, but with having said that, I don't not get the work. So if somebody messages me and I haven't responded to them, whatever they've asked for, it's read and it's actioned, and make sure the work, whatever needs to get done, does get done.
Yeah, that's one thing that's good.
Yeah.
Or in my case, just put on the list for the next day. Like, we'll worry about
So
it.
it does get done. It does get done.
It's very particular about, Anissa always goes on about, if you have any inquiries, call me between 8 to 4, I'll pick up the phone. As soon as the clock strikes 4:01, the phone doesn't work anymore, bro.
No.
It doesn't work, like
Six,
it's going
six.
through.
6.
6,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is 6 o'clock,
Okay.
actually.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
special.
Yeah,
For me, it's
after
different.
After hours.
What do you mean,
For
bro?
me, it's different, yeah.
You've got access to my front door, bro.
That's true.
I think you're there more than anybody else is there.
But I don't
That's
want to be intrusive, innit? You know what I mean?
Okay, you don't want me to choose
I got this morning I had to sleep over last night.
And Mohsin fully turned up to my house one day. Yeah, he's like, "Come, let's go out." I was like, "Bro, it's 11 o'clock, man."
Oh, listen.
You know what I mean?
So hopefully my mom's not listening to this podcast.
But no, man. Cool. Let's get into it, man. Let's start with early days. I think a lot of people, when they think about entrepreneurship, people think about born and bred entrepreneurship, and I always like kind of skated around that topic because me personally, I don't feel like anyone's. Some people have natural talent. I don't think anyone's born in a particular way. I think people can get better at something. For example, if I'm crap at football, which is public knowledge,
At least
not
you
the
know.
best.
And so your favorite team, man. You what? I'll continue.
Yeah, let's not talk about that, innit? We won yesterday, innit? So.
Just about.
But the main thing is, like, for example, if I'm not good at football, but if I practiced every day for 7 months, 8 months, 2 years, I'm gonna be better at football. I'm not gonna be Cristiano Ronaldo now, but I'm gonna be significantly better than when I started. So the same way that I think about any skill in life, I feel like you can get better at. But in terms of like
Do you reckon you get to level of Rashford?
Rashford, let's not talk about him, innit? You know what I mean? He's better at being a politician, innit? You know what I mean? He's skilling up things in the House of Commons, innit? You know what I mean? Not on the pitch. But no, my question is like, can from your guys' story when you guys started, you guys weren't if people looked at you from day one, you wouldn't look at you and be like the quote unquote, oh, these guys gonna be entrepreneurs. Would you say that's a fair representation?
No. I don't think our like early life sort of started off on that part. It's not like you don't have any business people in your family.
I mean, if anybody who does know me from early years, like they knew me to become a doctor.
Doctor, yeah, exactly.
I think that's
like,
still the perception.
That's
till
like the
today.
path he was set on to be like. You can't steer this or right this.
You were really good at school, innit? That's why, innit?
To me, it wasn't even about school. You know, I made a decision very early on. It was one of the few things that a lot of people say. Every Asian wants to they start to be a doctor, bansi, engineer, bansi, that type of conversation. And for that, I actually came to that conclusion myself. I just had an interest in medicine, and in particular, I had an interest in cardiology. So I had from year 9, 10, I had books of like all types of human body, heart,
What's cardiology?
just stuff to do with the heart.
Okay.
Research into the heart and stuff like that. I even when I was young, I had a lot of things, just stuff to do with that, and I still till today, I have probably bits and pieces lying around on that. So that was always my interest.
Yeah.
So I kind of made that decision myself.
So from day one, you had your eyes set on being a doctor.
Yeah.
And the unique part of the story is the fact that you guys started entrepreneurship almost out of. I mean, just explain that briefly. Early on, you got married at a young age. Obviously, you guys don't know these two are husband and wife, and that. If you didn't clock on
Spoiler
straight away, spoiler that.
I mean, if they thought I was sitting next to a woman with disclosure, bro, and they didn't think we were husband and wife, I'd be worried about what they think we were.
Yeah, man. No, but you guys got married very early on in your lifetime. 19, right?
Yeah.
You were 19. And I think from when you told me about the story is you started business almost out of a necessity to provide, right?
I think before I mention anything about business, and I know that's what you want to get to, and Masood's like, I want to get to the business
Get to the
part.
juicy part.
Forget right. But there's a lot of discussions that happened before that, because when we got married, it's the age that we got married at that allowed us to form a team. And I firmly believe that, and you probably heard me say this, and you know exactly what I'm about to say now as well, is that when you get married young, you end up building skill sets together that it's not impossible to do when you're older, it's easier to do when you're younger. You're more like friends, you understand a lot of people, and you understand your strengths and weaknesses a lot faster, and as you grow up, you kind of use each other as like a stepping stone. That you're good at this, I'm good at this, you're good at this, you're good at this, and when you're younger, it's a lot easier to navigate through that.
Because you're making the same mistakes at the same time, usually. So it's not really like...
And more expectations.
You don't really have any
have
expectations for each other, it's just chill out, have fun. Basically, that's what it is.
So why did you feel the need to start business specifically?
So
could you not just...
in your second year at uni, right?
Yeah, that's a funny story actually. That's a very, very funny story.
So you were married in your second year at uni?
No, we got married first year of uni.
Second?
No, it was...
End of
The
first year.
summer of
Yeah,
the first-
yeah, the summer of the first into second year. In fact, so I'll tell you actually.
No, this is that £350.
Yeah, this is that.
£3.50.
Be very careful what you wish for in life.
Okay.
Yeah, very careful. I always, and this is something my mom has always been adamant on. And you know what? It's tried and tested. And whenever somebody says, "Look, I would never ever do that," life always ends up spinning that person around, that individual around, to make them do that particular thing. For example, when I was younger, I was just when I got married, and I was like, I need to, I need to get a job. I mean, when I got married, I didn't have a bank account. Just putting that for the record. I was 19, I didn't have a bank account. Yeah.
Fresh off the boat.
Yeah, like literally, bro. It was mad. So I didn't have a bank account, and I needed a job.
Cash in hand only.
I needed a job, and
Cash in hand only. Doing everything cash in hand. Yeah, bro, pay me cash.
So
Gone.
I needed money, right? Naturally, I was looking for work. I couldn't find any work at the time because it was like all of a sudden I got married and I need to get a job type of thing. And just randomly, one of my school colleagues at the time, he used to work in a taxi stand. He used to work as a controller in sort of Ascot, Sunningdale area, and they were like, I just happened to put a word out and said, listen, if you got, he goes, yeah, we do this work, come, you can work on the phone lines type of thing. I was like, yeah, fine, ready, let's go. And they were night shifts.
Yeah.
Right. So they were late night shifts.
So what time?
So you go to university, you finish, and they were like you'd start at like 6-7 o'clock in the evening. So after university, say, and then it was till the next morning, type of thing.
What, 6 o'clock, something like that?
6 o'clock in the morning. Right?
12-hour shift.
Yeah. And
Shout Molly May.
and on top of that, and when I was younger, I remember saying, mom was like to me, mom would always say, look, anything can happen in life, you should be ready for any situation. And people would work for like pennies, and I'd be like, you know what, I'd never work for £3.50. I'd never work for £2.50. And I kid you not, I worked for 6 months at £3.50.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like that £3.50, I had calculated every penny what it could do for me, right? And yeah, so that was what I did. The work was easy, as you know. The money wasn't great, and you don't need to be a mathematician to work out. It wasn't the greatest job.
Yeah.
It wasn't. To be honest, it wasn't about the job. I mean, I personally, it wasn't about the job not being great. The job was fine, right? Obviously, he was getting paid peanuts. However, One day I was sitting there at work, just on the computer.
So this is 6 months into your marriage.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. So this was like,
What was it?
it was 3-4 weeks.
3-4 weeks, yeah. 3-4 weeks into marriage. I'd been working there prior to
6 months prior, like
6 months
okay.
prior, because I was going to get married. Prior to that, like 3-4 weeks into marriage, I was sitting there in the office, and the drivers, the chauffeurs, they were having a conversation between themselves, right? And I overheard the conversation, and they were like,
So these are like Asian uncles in their like 40s and 50s
Yeah.
context.
so they're sitting there. I don't know if people know that most taxi drivers go by numbers. They don't go by names and stands. They'll go by like, they'll have a number attached to them, like a zero. They're like football. You have a number attached to you, like you know, Krishna 07 or whatever the case is. In similar in taxi, you have numbers attached to the drivers, and they was talking to each other about how one of them had set up a business, something called at the time eBay shop, and how he was getting goods and he was selling and his own infrastructure and everything. He had like he said eBay shop, and my ears is kind of like, oh, hey, what's an eBay shop? And he's like, you know, you get your own structure, you get your own name, you get your own branding, and you can get all this design, you can get these products, you can sell them, and you know,
You have a business bank account.
and you know, business bank account. That's the only reason that he only works a few days there, because you know he's got a decent side hustle. And I'm thinking to myself that this uncle, yeah, he's sitting there, he's like 45, 50 years old. The guy's talking about eBay shop, and I don't know what the hell that is, yeah. That day I was like to myself, bro, you know what, I'm done. I'm opening up a business. Like straight up.
Even though you had no clue.
I had no clue what he was talking
What
about.
was talking about.
So I was like and it was Ramadan. I remember it was Ramadan, right? It was fasting, the month of like Ramadan, and so I would do iftar at home, go work, come back, and Sahur would be with me, isn't it?
Yeah, you take Sahur.
Yeah, Sahur, I'd take Sahur with me, and do it there and come back and go pray Fajr and then come back and then go sleep type of thing. But that day I came back and Lisa was still sleeping and came and I woke up, listen, wake up. I'm like, have you ever done eBay before in your life? Do you know what eBay, like, you know, eBay listing? Or she goes, yeah, you know, here and there, you know, my dad used to ask me to put the odd listing up here and there. What did you say?
Yeah, like I put like odd like car pots and stuff for my dad in the past, or like sold my GCSE books one time. Like
Yeah.
really
I'm like, so you do not use it? She goes, well, no, but I'm like, have you used it? She goes, yeah, that's fine. I go, that's fine.
that's enough.
I'm like, so you know, I'm leaving work and we're gonna start an eBay shop.
Okay.
And she was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm gonna leave work. We're gonna start an eBay shop.
So just for context, you overheard, you were working, it's 3 weeks into your marriage, 3-4 weeks into your marriage, you overheard in your night shift few uncles talking about how much they make on their side hustle selling things on eBay, and you there and then made a decision like, listen, we're going to start an eBay shop.
You see, look, basically, yeah.
Wow.
That was it was that type of decision.
What were you expecting from it though? Like straight away, like you thought like, yeah, I'm going to make £500 a month now straight.
I expected that. I thought, yeah, this is gonna be, you know, easy walk in the park. I mean, uncle's doing it, why can't I do it type of thing? You know? The guy that probably doesn't have to use a laptop properly. I mean, now obviously no judging the person, you know, but at the time, like, the guy doesn't probably know how to use a laptop, and the guy's, you know, got something going on for him. But why can't I try something like that?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's where the conversation stemmed from, really. That's where the conversation stemmed from. That's where we began from.
So that's the building blocks, the starting blocks of where it is now. No, that's good, man. Like that's a story, because to answer the question, obviously the question I asked was, is anyone a born entrepreneur? Like like I said, like from your big starting point, you couldn't say that really, because the born entrepreneur part for me stems from someone who maybe sells things in school, or is always like the chatty patty, or like the gift of the gab type person, like in school, like, you know what I mean, like selling things, and just people who just sell things when they're younger, who's
I think there's two things there. No, you're right. I think you said a few things there, and just to pick it up apart a little bit, was one is when somebody asks the question, can you be an export business? I think what they're trying to ask is, one is having business acumen, which is business skill set, and one is having business characteristics. And I think those two things go they'll go hand in hand eventually when you do business, but those are two things. So for example, you're gone?
No, I'm just saying that they are separate, I think.
They are definitely separate.
Like, you can have business characteristics, like you just said, like just really chatty and like, you know, really outgoing and this and that, but there comes a point where you're going to have to learn skills as well, and those skills are quite defined skills, like a defined skill set that you need to have to actually achieve something
Yeah.
in that.
No, definitely, 100%. So those are the two things. So I think people who have business characteristics from a younger age find it probably easier to move into business. For example, one of the key things of business is art of persuasion, right?
Yeah.
If you can persuade somebody, and everybody has probably heard the example. Like if you're a good business person, you can sell somebody a pen, which is just a normal thing, but you can say 50 things about it. And you probably had, I think, you hear all these business thing like, sell me this pen, or sell me this bottle, or something like that, and you just have to persuade somebody, right? So art of persuasion. So somebody generally who has a very convincing nature, somebody who knows how to debate, somebody who knows how to convince somebody, persuade, will find themselves that when they come to business, because one thing is having an idea, and one thing is knowing how to portray the idea to somebody. I can say to you, this microphone, is really good, for example, right? And it's a microphone that does the job. But if I started to make you feel like this microphone was you had to have this microphone, you can't live without it. It's very different, you understand? And if that comes naturally to somebody or naturally to some people, then they find it easy. Well, why can't I just go into business?
No, that makes sense.
So yeah, I don't think you can be born. I think you can have some things give you an advantage for sure.
Yeah.
Something give you an advantage for sure.
Because for me, like, I always was the case, like, I wasn't necessarily a born entrepreneur, but I used to sell like headphones in school. I used to import headphones, funny enough, from China and sell them in school. I import them for like £12 and sell them for £35 in school.
Oh, wow.
So but for me, the one thing that held me back was my confidence. I knew I always had. I knew I had the skill set, but what stopped me was my confidence. So when I started working in sales, that's when I developed my confidence of people saying no to you. Because I think that's the biggest hurdle. A lot of people, when they hear the word no, it's almost like a gunshot to them. They're like, oh my days, like I can't carry on now because it's like the end of the world. But like that's what people fail to realize is the fact that it's not really the end of the world. That's just part and parcel
I
of
mean, in
it.
business you have to hear a lot of no's.
Yeah.
I mean,
You do have thick skin. Like,
very thick skin.
Yeah.
And not like on a personal basis, or not like, people calling you out for your appearance or anything like that. It's just more about being rejected for your ideas and what you think is going to be like the next best thing, and then being told, no, it's not. You kind of need to detach yourself emotionally from your ideas or your thoughts and things, and just be open to the fact that you don't know everything. And sometimes the best ideas you stumble across by accident.
That's true. I mean, it's some like you said, it's some of the foundational things that make a business person. Like, for example, understanding the fact that nobody cares about your product.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody cares.
No one cares.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Who cares is if it's what the customer wants, not what you want. A lot of businesses, they lead direction, but this is what I want. Like, I think this looks good, therefore you should sell. But if the customer does not perceive it in that particular manner, and you can't persuade the customer is in that manner, it's never going to sell.
The biggest question is literally always come down to what problem is it solving? Your product or your idea or your service or whatever. If it's not solving anyone's problem, then no one cares.
Yeah.
That's basically the long and short of it.
That's it, man.
I was reading the book the other day, some weeks back, and it's like if you can answer the question, number one is what problem it solves, and number two, what is it in it for the customer? What's the incentive for the customer to buy your product? Not why you think the customer should have the product, why the customer feels like they should. Like, if I was saying, if somebody comes to you and says, buy this product from me, what's your instant response?
No.
When people knock on your door,
Yeah.
like back in the days, I don't know if they still do it, but like cold selling, they'll come on your door and they'll sell you some item. They should get slammed on the door.
Yeah.
Why? Because it wasn't their idea. Somebody's coming to your door to sell it. But you would probably go out of the house and go to a shop and buy the very same product because you felt the need for it. And the art of business is always telling the person why you need that product.
Customers feel like it's on their terms, like they're not being sold to, that they are actively seeking something.
I get you. A large part of business is obviously, like you said, like with the rejection aspect and overcoming hurdles. You guys also had a fair share of overcoming a few hurdles, let's say. Did you guys want to get into that?
Yeah, I mean, look, as much as I can, or as much as I'm comfortable in talking about. But
you guys, I mean, the most prominent thing that you guys probably the most the highlight of your story and why it makes your story so unique is the fact that you you were in debt, innit? Like you were in a large amount of money in debt. What was that because of?
I think,
like,
I think before you had to
take
get
a
to that,
step back
yeah.
before
Okay.
that, it's like we were talking about, you can have all the characteristics of being a good businessman, you know, businesswoman, whatever, but there comes a point where if you don't have a certain skill set or understanding of key things about business, you're going to fail before you even start. And I think that's where we run into problems. Like, if I say the word cash flow, most people probably wouldn't know what that means. But
I think even before then, even before we to get to
Yeah,
that, even before you get to that part of the story, I think it's how do you end up in debt in the first place? And before you talk about how you get into that, like we never started, when we started business, we weren't in debt.
Yeah.
We weren't in debt for maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Yes, we were working at home. I mean, I think the first question to answer is where we started business from.
Where'd you start from?
Yeah, started from my bedroom.
Yeah.
Which is
The small room.
In fact,
Yeah.
I'll actually send Sufyan a picture of that bedroom.
Yeah.
When it was getting renovated, I'll send a picture and I'll show you exactly where I started the
so
business.
it's like literally a single box room.
Single box room, so you can put one bed in there, right?
Single bed.
A single bed, and a desk, small desk. That's it.
And how long were you doing the business from in that box room for?
For a few years.
Yeah, fair few.
When did you start it? When did you start Craft Layer?
So I mean, Craftware started like 2014.
But even
14.
before
But
then,
even before then, we did like 2 years or 18 months
18 months of just trying and learning and doing other bits.
So from
trying and failing.
So from the eBay story, there was a 2-year gap of just trial and error in the
Yeah.
So
bedroom.
basically, that is the point where most people would be like, well, what is the point of this? Like, I don't have a business yet. I don't know what I'm doing. We were literally getting the most random rubbish.
I mean, I wouldn't say rubbish.
But
I have sentimental value to this thing.
you have sentimental value, and I don't. But
Yeah, it's like
whatever we could afford. So I mean, just to clarify, when we started, we used university grants
Yeah.
to basically fund our first
grants,
purchase.
not loans. It's pointing out.
Yeah, grants. Back then you would get
back in the
grants.
day when it was.
We were back in the day, like we were some.
No, I used to. My university grant. I used it for my business as well. Legit.
Well, I guess
Like-
that's
That's
smart.
true. Those
It's
companies
better-
really
it's
like
better-
watching out. Like what?
It's better than using it for just buying burgers all day.
It was a
like,
grant though, innit? I could do what I wanted with it. It was £1,000. I was like, I'm buying stock with this, bro.
Yeah, so
But yeah.
that's the same. Like we bought our first stock, and we thought, wow, we are gonna go places like we invested.
Yeah.
£1,000 was a lot.
Big.
Yeah, a lot
Massive.
for
You could
small
not even
business.
imagine, like, oh my god, £1,000.
It's a lot of money for a small
I mean, we did
business.
stuff like going to random cities, like up north, and to buy a whole, basically pick up all the damaged goods from somebody, not knowing what you're buying. I think what
Job
No,
lot.
when I contacted them, they were like, oh, I have one pallet, and do you have the facility to offload the pallet at your address? And I remember going to person and thinking, what does a pallet mean? What's a pallet?
And offload, like, what do you mean?
This guy's
Well,
quite
we got our hands, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, why do we need a machine? Like, why do we need a machine to take the stock off, off the van?
I genuinely couldn't understand it.
Wait,
Like,
May said-
the guy
May-
that offload, I'm like, what do you mean
Offload a pallet? You don't know what that means.
Like,
You don't know
what do you mean? What pallet? What offload? What? Like, you get the
So
goods,
we
you pick them up, and you
literally-
take them up, right? Like, what's the big deal?
So we couldn't afford for him to like get the pallet, you know, and transport in the
I don't
truck
think
to
we
our
even
house.
knew about.
Is this the
transporting
7-seater story?
Yeah,
Okay.
you know where I'm going with this.
pallets. I don't think we even knew about transporting pallets at the
No,
time.
because he gave me a call. I'm thinking, why the hell is he charging so much to deliver it? Like,
Yeah.
you know. So what we did was we got a 7-seater.
Yeah, we got somebody to get.
So we hired a 7-seater.
We
We
took
got
a
somebody
taxi.
to drive.
Yeah,
Wait, where was this? Where were you picking up from?
In
Birmingham.
Birmingham. So it was just over like 2 hours or
Yeah.
something.
You went to Birmingham.
And then we is it this one where we went like really late in the night?
Yeah,
for some stupid
it
reason?
was really late in the night, and it was like a long flight of stairs. You got up in the thing, you go to the guy's room, and this guy's got like a room probably like size of like probably a double bedroom full of boxes of electric.
Like you know, like return
Yeah.
goods, like
So
Yeah,
they were like shavers, hair dryers, machines, and they were like all returned. So basically,
If it works, it works.
It works, it works.
If
If
it
it doesn't
doesn't,
work,
then
it's
you know,
scrapped.
it's scrapped
Yeah.
basically. So yeah, so
that was Ramadan
so
as
we
well.
literally stuffed the 7-seater chocolate.
That was Ramadan as well.
It was Ramadan. Why is everything?
It was Ramadan because you know why it was Ramadan? Because I remember when we came back, we quickly checked all the goods and we went to the mosque after that as well. So it was Tarawih as well. So I remember it was Ramadan.
Yeah.
It was Ramadan. I
So, yeah,
remember.
so that was our first big purchase, and
So how much money did you spend on that one? Like you had £1,000 grant. You spent all the
How
£1,000.
much did you spend on that? I think
that
it
was £900. I remember.
Yeah.
£900. So you used it full whack in the deep end.
And then we got the goods, and then we were like, what do we do with it? I mean, the only thing I knew what to do was to get the plug and put it in the socket and see if it works. Like, what do you do now? So I did that to all the goods, and like 60% of it wasn't working. I'm like, wow, what have you done? Then my dad got involved, and my dad was like, you know, he came into our warehouse, you know, which was my bedroom, He pulled out his screwdrivers and
Toolkit.
toolkit. Do you remember that? I mean, for him it was funny. Like he was
Like before I even wake up in the morning, he'd be there testing and like soldering things on and putting new fuses in.
And to be fair, because of that, we salvaged at least. I think we were able. I think we broke even on that.
We did break even.
Yeah, we broke even on that lot, and
Yeah.
we salvaged about probably like 50-60% of the stock. I think.
Yeah.
I think some of it was
So
straight.
we did make a loss on that, and I don't think we ever really did make a loss on anything. So even
At home, yeah.
At home, so it was like even the most random things, like there was a certain brand of lip gloss
Yeah.
that we found sold well on eBay. So we just scoured the country on Gumtree and like there wasn't even Facebook Marketplace.
Go for like Christmas.
There wasn't
like,
even Facebook Marketplace at that time, was there?
No.
So it was just literally just Gumtree, putting ads on
Gumtree,
Gumtree, replying to people on Gumtree, like
Going to Boots, standing outside.
Going to Boots, standing outside in the sales to get it.
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't a very clear sourcing strategy that we had. Let's put it that way.
Again, but again, that's where we first learned
Learn.
about sourcing and consistent supply flow.
Because we knew
Right.
that this sold well, we had very good margin.
So
We
we
didn't know,
needed
we
it.
didn't know the word margin, but we knew we were making money on it. So, but the problem was we couldn't source it in a consistent and reliable manner. So we were like, okay, this is not going to work long term.
A similar story to me. Like I remember when I started, I mentioned this before to you guys, but the one venture that taught me a lot about business was selling trainers, and the same issue came up for me. Like if there was a certain skew of trainers that sold really well for me, the hard part was like
Where do you get
restocking
them?
it. Where the hell do I get it again?
Where do you get the next
And exactly, it would be the case that I have to go to like certain shoe stores and camp outside and wait for like the stock to come in, and then you gotta understand like I'm doing that with like hundreds of other people trying to get the same shoe, and it's a limited supply shoe, and you're trying to get multiple pairs. There was a very prominent story. I think I remember the one time I camped out for a trainer. It was me and my cousin went. Imagine like this is the story. Yeah, we'll get into like your part again, but this is I think this is a unique story. I don't think I've told this before, but there was a particular shoe coming out, and it was the store that I was getting it from, it was an Adidas trainer. Back in the day, Adidas and NMD was like a fashion, like it was a very popular shoe, and they were competing with Nike very fiercely. And this particular shoe was a collaboration that was only released in a store that was the only store in Europe, and that happened to be in Covent Garden. So me and my cousin, I said to my cousin, bro, let's go. So 4 a.m. we went to Covent Garden and we camped out, but before that I was in Southampton, so I had to come from Southampton all the way to Slough, pick up my cousin. I was like, bro, listen, let's go.
Were you
And
in
then
Southampton?
I was doing a photo shoot for universities. I was in university at the time. But it don't bring the table, mate. So I camped out. Didn't end up getting the shoe that I wanted, but ended up getting a limited shoe on the day. But to answer the supply issue, there was
this not the story? There was somebody standing outside just buying
yeah,
everybody's trainers.
yeah, exactly. So there was a guy standing outside the door paying. So the retail of the shoe was £250. He was paying everyone £850 on the door. Like, give me what size is it? Yep, it's £850, £850. Whoever was there can back the story. It was the NMD like Pharrell Williams collaboration. If you were on the day, you would know. There was a guy standing outside the door with a North Face puffer jacket, bags of shoes around him. He had like probably a bodyguard behind him as well, because he's like literally like, how much is it? Oh, what size is it? Oh, okay, size 9. Oh, here's £800. Literally pulling out the fattest wad of cash I've seen in my life. Like, yeah, counting it physically, and I was like, wow. So the supply issue, I kind of had a similar thing. So when I was selling trainers, to supply more of the SKU that was selling well, it was a hard thing as well.
100%.
So completely understand from that regard.
Supply is one of the understanding your supply for. I mean, this is advice for anybody really. I mean, supply is one of the backbones of any business. Any business. I mean, even content. Like right now, we're talking, we're creating content. This is also a form of supply.
Yeah.
Because if you run the content thing, that supply runs out too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's always supply.
Yeah, 100%. When did you? So you were doing that for 18 months. You started what now is Craftvator, which is
We did some electricals, right?
Yeah.
Some of the random products. Yeah, we did some lip glosses. We did some random job lots.
yeah.
So
You were testing out for 18 months, right? But why did you want to go specific? Why did you want to start Craftvator into candles
So
and
during this
whatnot?
time, we were doing like a heck of a lot of reading. So
Okay.
lots of reading. Like we couldn't afford any content, so it was like any free content out there about setting up an online e-commerce. We didn't even know the word e-commerce at the time, but yeah, setting up an online buying and selling business. We were reading everything there was to know about it.
And when I mean everything, let me just put that in perspective. When you mean everything, I mean literally everything. I mean, they got to a point where there was no content left on the internet for us to read, unless we were subscribed to
we
people's
knew the
newsletters.
names of like all these gurus and these blog writers and all this, and like we just learned so much.
Was this e-commerce gurus, like e-commerce like type?
Yeah,
And a lot of it was free because most of it couldn't afford. So all of it was free content that was available. And just put it out there, and a lot of people I know they get convinced by is like somebody's there, standing next to like a aeroplane is like, give me 6 figures and I'll teach you how to make 5.
That's a joke that you make.
None of that,
It's
but-
very easy to rent a Lamborghini, guys. You know what I mean?
So, I mean,
So
if
this
they
is
were making
legit.
6 figures, you wouldn't be taking those pictures in the first place and asking people to buy a £39 course. But I think there's a lot of content available to people to read. And there's no such thing as somebody giving you an answer for business. I don't think a lot of people are like, I'm going to go sit down with somebody, I'm going to go do X, Y, and Z course. And guess what?
Teach me everything.
It's going to teach me everything, and it's going to make me, it's going to make me this much money. That's never the case.
At most, still to teach you the tools for you to do the hard graft yourself, basically.
Exactly.
And that's what it comes down to.
And
There's
it gives you those few trigger points.
There's no running away.
That clicks.
There's no running away from the hard graft that actually needs to go in. Like there is no quick fix for that.
Word, I 100% agree. And a lot of people look at business like, oh, this is going to be an easy ride. I kid you not, the amount of people, I guess this is a little bit of a rant, the amount of people I speak to,
We're used to it.
yeah, that say to me, that listen, or life must be easy for you, or life you must be relaxed.
Well, people say that to you.
Yeah, or you must have all the freedom to do this, or must be,
They say that now.
That's
They say that now because they
You
see.
must have loads of spare time to pursue your
Business-
hobbies. I'm like, what hobbies?
I guess it starts from a very. Okay, when you start in school and you look at business studies in schools they teach that they talk about employment versus business, a sole trader, partnership, and they always say what are the advantages and disadvantages of a sole trader, and they'll say one of the advantages of a sole trader is
Say your own time.
say your own time, take
Work
your
at
own
your own
holiday,
pace.
and I think like with respect to what schools teach, I'm not saying that they don't teach that, but I think that is a very inaccurate representation of what business actually is.
Yeah,
Unless you've got somebody's handed you down £10 million and giving you,
But even then,
giving you directors of Tesco's and be like, listen, and you're just sitting there trying to look pretty. Other than that, there's no way of getting away from hard work, and that's when anything. If anybody says to you, I achieved this, those people go to school, you probably know them, like, oh, how much revision did you do? Or I didn't do any revision. You know that person is lying out of their teeth. You know the guy was studying at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do any revision. They just had a revelation from their planet Earth. The biology just went into the guy's mind. There's no yes, granted, some people pick up things faster than others, but there is always a process.
Yeah.
And that people have to be willing to go through a process, and that process will never finish, in any aspect of life. If it's a footballer, if it's a business person, if it's a spiritual journey, if it's a mental journey, if it's a healthy journey, that journey it never finishes.
Yeah.
And what sets you apart from where other people begin and where you are is, that time in between. There are some very dark times you have in between. There are a lot of obstacles that come in between. There are a lot of problems that come in between where you start and where you want to be. But it's the ability to ride that out and know what you want to do. Like, for example, we talk about famous people of the past in history, and we talk about what they achieved, right? Whether you're a religious person, and that might be a religious person for you. And for example, me personally, in our religion, we have some very, we have our prophet, and we have other, we have people that we look forward to, and we see their processes. And if there are people who are watching this who are not religious and have other beliefs, for example, any person that they look up to, any person that they hold on a pedestal, they will find that the reason why they put them to a level at a certain, and why they aspire to be like them and why they learn from them, is because those people were willing to go through a process that no one was willing to able to go to, right? Like what's one thing everybody knows about Cristiano Ronaldo is because the guy's the first to train, last to leave. The guy's got treadmill put in the swimming pool. The guy does this therapy, that therapy. The guy he eats this, eats that, right? He goes above and beyond to become an elite athlete, and that's what he's become, right? Now people talk about, let's talk about boxer, let's talk about Mayweather, for example. A lot of people say, oh, the great boxer. The guy is an excellent boxer because he's achieved what he's achieved in boxing because the guy knows what he's talking about. He knows how to. He wasn't about knocking out. Well, maybe he did knock out people. I don't know this, but it was about points. He knew what boxing was about.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of
He
people
put the work in.
Right, he put the work in.
Yeah, he put the work in.
Every person puts the work in. Whether you're a religious person, whether you are whether you have whatever beliefs you have, whoever you put on the top, and you look at their history, the reason why you respect them is because of the work they put in, because of the process, which most people, unfortunately, who want to get to a certain level are not willing to put through. And that's something I just like. A lot of kids come up and, what do you want to do? I want to become a professional cricketer. Okay, how many days do you train? Oh well, I just do it on the weekend. Fine.
Yeah.
But when you ask them to put the work in, like, okay, you want to go for that 1 mile run, you need to go for that 2 mile run, you can't eat that. Like every single male watching this podcast right now, if any of them had wishes to do football, and whenever they played on Saturday, Sunday, and somebody said to them, listen guys, we're not going to play a match today, we're going to do our stretches and we're going to go for a jog, all of them made their face and walked off. Yeah. Right? Because they're like, do you know what? Why should I do that? But it's that stretching and it's that running that gives you the fuel for the match.
Did you have a point in your journey that you felt like giving up?
Did I ever have a point? There were some very difficult times, right? And life, I mean, even now, I think it depends how you measure difficulty. I think now the threshold of difficulty has become a lot higher because when you go through some experiences in life, your resilience to things grows up a little bit, right? And obviously, again, for me, we had hard times, but I had, for me again, and I keep repeating this very generally as a man who follows religion, right? I found myself that in the darkest times you have relief. Other people have other outlets, right? So things did get really bad. Things did get, I wouldn't say bad, it's probably the wrong word. Things got very difficult, but in that difficulty we found ease. Right. In that difficulty, we found solace. In that difficulty, we found a lot of patience.
What was particularly bad about it? What was the most difficult thing that you guys would say? Was it the no food in the fridge stories and that?
Look, I don't want to make that the end all and be all of the conversation, right? Whether there was food in the fridge or whether there wasn't food in the fridge. What I would say.
No, I mean it's essential because it's. That's an integral part of the fact of where you are today. Like, no pun intended, but the hunger that you had from those days and the experiences that you had from those days. Obviously, like, I'm saying this from a perspective of I've already heard the story.
Yes.
And I'm kind of picking out points that I feel like would be good to expand upon. But I feel like these particular topics is good for expansion because from viewers listening, it would be good to know that.
We chose not to have food in the fridge, I guess you want to say.
Why was there no food in the fridge?
Because we didn't. So let me again. I think it comes down to a lot of beliefs as well. Yeah. And I don't want to make this podcast about me being a Muslim or us being a Muslim, right? But I think it comes down to that. The reason why we had no food in the fridge is because the way we do business is very different to what most people would be accustomed to doing, right? And we our personal beliefs dictate that we don't deal with interest. Yeah. We don't deal with credit cards. Now there could have been a lot of food in the fridge had we chosen to take credit cards or had we chosen to take bank loans, where the case is, right?
And why did you not take credit cards or interest? What led you to that moment to not do it?
Well, the thing is, as a Muslim, our religious beliefs dictate we don't deal with interest, right? Now that's a religious choice that we follow very, very closely, and that has been the case from day one of business and till inshallah whenever I die. That will always be that will never remain something that can be compromised.
So you never take a drop of interest.
No, it's not for me. It's not something that we can take, and for it's something.
It's not even on the cards.
Don't get it wrong. I think don't get it. It's not that we haven't been tempted.
Yeah,
we've been tempted many times. I mean, when you're in a dire position where food is becoming a problem for you at home, and you're like, okay, surely I can find an exception over here, right? It has been tempting on many occasions. Right, and even till today, it's very tempting to think what we could be doing, and what I've been advised or what I've been told by people, advisors and other people and stuff like that. That the business world works a lot faster when you deal with interest. Yeah. But those are certain things that I don't ever want to compromise. And one of my advices I would say to people about business, anyone who's doing business, is if you've got certain values and moral and ethical code, like they don't they don't have to be given up at all.
Yeah.
You just need to find a different way around it. You know,
There's always alternatives.
there's always an alternative.
100%. 100%.
There's always an alternative.
No, that's good, man. I did want to touch on. I think you were trying to. I was trying to pin down the really tough part of your journey. And you were like, you were really like brushing over it, like trying to brush over as much as you can. But I was really trying to pinpoint because it's whether we talk about it in this conversation or not, or we bring it up later. That has what made you guys who you are. And just to touch on it, you know, you guys did go through a very rough patch because of the simple fact that you, like you said, like Anissa mentioned, like there's certain things in business when you start off you don't really know. You found out that cash flow was a really integral part of your business, but you only found that out the hard way. And how, like, could you go through like and explain like how much of a learning experience that was and when that kind of slapped you in the face, basically?
Look,
What situationally, what context can we have like
So,
from that?
fast
particular
forward
moment?
from the home situation,
Yeah.
right?
You got your warehouse, little
We got a small office.
small office.
Self-storage.
So like a small, and when I mean a self-storage, I mean it's probably the size of this table.
Yeah,
Cupboard.
literally.
Like a little cupboard type of thing. And when we were working in the office, again, there's a very small office. It got to an point where cash flow was really bad. We couldn't afford. Imagine you couldn't afford a roof over the head, right? So the office very nicely welcomed us in, and we made it our humble abode for some time.
Yeah.
So
So you used to sleep in the office.
yeah,
sometimes.
it had to be done.
Yeah.
It had to be done.
You couldn't keep up with payments with stock or with.
With anything really.
Okay.
With anything really.
Why did that financial issue start?
Look,
initially?
one of the key, do you want to talk about it?
No, it's fine. I'll try when I feel.
One of the key.
And this is like, don't talk to me.
I'm just pointing out there, like I said, I don't want to take away from Anissa. Anissa's, has been the most integral person, right? When it comes to, just we got married, like as in, can you believe it's almost 10 years since we've been married?
Yeah.
Right. So it's a long, long time, as in, and she's been integral in a lot of the discussions. So, she's been part of the toughest of times, and she's probably seen all the toughest of times. So she's not talking, but she holds a lot of wealth of knowledge and wealth of experience.
Okay.
So I'm gonna talk, and I'm assuming she's gonna cut me off, right? So
Okay.
and that's fine. So I don't want to be like awkward.
I find it like not difficult, but yeah, difficult to talk about these times because it's like when you've had like traumatic past experiences or things that you don't really wish to revisit just for jokes, like.
Oh, sorry, this is a joke, bro. You know what I mean?
No. I mean,
I'm joking, I'm
like
joking.
it's not something you talk about when
Yeah.
you're having dinner, right? It's not
Yeah.
like it's just obviously for the purpose of this, just.
And it's not something that you'd share. Like, as in, I know a lot of people can use this as like a marketable thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to use it, I'm
We-
going to deal with it, whatever the case may be.
Because it is good marketing, right? Oh yeah, they went from homeless to
Yeah,
whatever,
but it's not something that
it's
that I want to use. But I know because I can see you're pressing on it.
You really want to
So
squeeze it out.
I'm still not going to give you what you want, but just to move around it, which would be that cash flow. A lot of people assume that because a business money is coming into the business, that money is all yours.
Yeah.
Right? And especially when you're learning business, there are, again, probably a lot of people, even people around you, close to you, don't understand. Just because a company is big or small or is making revenue, it doesn't mean that money in the bank account is your money.
Yeah.
And that's something, and I know it's probably an obvious thing for a lot of people, but it wasn't for us at the time, right? So, you've got to take...
Like that's a good point. Sorry to cut you off, but a lot of people see these businesses online and they see them with pushing out like hundreds of orders a day, but you don't know if that business is profitable. You don't know if that owner is actually making money, like himself.
Look, in our business like journey right now, right, we're looking into business acquisitions, right?
Yeah.
One of the first questions that you look at, and is you talk about revenue as well, but the first thing you look at is profitability. Part of your process is to look at what is the company generating and what is its profit turnover, right? So what's it taking away from the business after removing all the costs. Now, that was a very difficult thing for us to understand at the time, because when you've got payments,
like accrued payments, like people need to go out a certain times a month, or suppliers you don't pay straight away, but you pay after the fact. So it's like the money comes in, but you don't realize on this day, so much money is going to be coming out because you're just looking at that moment. So that's in a nutshell how you can explain.
And here's an example, right? Here's a quick example. Let's say a company is it's got £2,000 in his bank account. £2,000 come in January. Like, oh, that's 2,000 mine. You know what? I'll go pay my rent. I'll go, eat some with my friends. I'll go buy this. I'll go buy that. Now, let's say that was £2,000 on the beginning of the month. Come the 5th of January, or whatever day, let's say 5 days into the month, there was a payment that needed to go out for some of the goods that you needed to ship out. That payment, that traveling. So let's say Royal Mail, DPD, any
PayPal, eBay, whatever.
That payment had to go to them. Let's say that payment was £300. Yeah. So that £300 comes out, you don't notice it. Yeah, £300 go, no problem. Come 5 days later, you've got another payment going out for. Let's say you've got payment going out for, a subscription that you've got that is very essential to your website. I don't know, maybe you've got some developer working on it. Maybe you've got something in the back end that's got a subscription. That's another. For example, I'm making figures up here. Yes, you've got £100 there, right? You're still spending from that £2,000. That's £400 already gone there now. Yeah, £400 is already gone. You've spent a little bit more money on. Okay, do you know what? I need to buy something for myself. I need to buy myself some clothes. I spent £200-300 over there. That's another £700 gone. And now you realize, actually, I'm running low on stock. And I need to order some stock in now. So that stock is, I need to order a stock of I need to order another stock of £800.
Yeah. And now you got going to take 30 days.
That's what's going to take 30 days to come. And now you've got, now what's going to happen now?
So you're going to run out of stock. So
you've got nothing for selling up days.
You know money's coming in, but payments still need to go out. And your stock hasn't arrived yet. Or it can't be ordered yet.
Yeah.
So imagine that, but on repeat, month on month. And imagine that for a couple of years as well. Some months were good, but most months were with that same problem. Because you're still learning, or you're still learning.
I mean, it looks like we've got we're very early in the journey, and it doesn't look like we've got the podcast. Yeah, we have to have part B and part C and part D to this.
I think we do need to have a part 2 to this because you guys just getting into the.
I think it's perfect to leave it in a cliffhanger. I think.
Yeah, I think so. But no, thank you guys for coming in. I think, Anissa, you need to do more podcasts, man, 100%. No, because you know what it is, like, me and Mohsin are a good dynamic, alhamdulillah, but you give a different perspective, and it's always good to have that.
Definitely.
Because obviously, like, we could say something, and then you could be like, because you come from a contextual, educational point of view, you could be like, no, actually, this is the context to this. Like, even the podcast last week, we were discussing on trending topics to talk about. Mm-hmm. You fully gave a full-back description on one of the topics that needed to be discussed. But had you, if you were on the podcast, you could have fully given that lowdown on the podcast anyways, and that would have opened up a better discussion.
That reminds me of the previous podcast. The Djokovic, whatever, he's playing the Australian Open. He
got a vaccine.
No, they overruled him because he fought the case that basically they was actually medically exempt. So he's actually.
No, I think the problem was he's had COVID in the last 30 days or something, and they consider that to be an exemption or something. So
fair enough.
Yeah, just want to put that out there. I think I think hopefully we'll be able to continue this. I think this is going to take a few podcasts to...
Yeah,
maybe.
To
we definitely need more than an hour. We need like Joe Rogan time. We need like 3 hours. I don't know if Saf's okay with that, but we need like 3 hours at least, bro. Yeah. But no, cool. Thank you for coming in. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. What episode is this? 6. Saf, you can speak, you know that, bro. 6. Cool. Episode 6. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been me, Masood. It's been Mohsin and Anissa. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and see you guys in the next one. Peace.